And for the umpteenth time during our years together, I don't know how it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know if anybody knows how it works. Who decides what is a, quote, big story, end quotes, and what is not? Who sets the agenda? One day I should sit in on one of the meetings that they have in this building on a very, very regular basis and find out. Do we wait to see what someone else has done? Do we go in first and make the decision ourselves? If we've conducted the interview with someone who says something vaguely newsworthy, we'll stick it at the top of the bulletin. That's natural. That's sensible. That's why every time Sadiq Khan comes into the studio for one of our regular chats, it ends up in the bulletins because it's ours. We own it. We have ownership. But what's the algorithm for deciding how big a story is? Because if it was money, this story wouldn't be in the news at all. £8 million. What percentage of the Manchester United wage bill is £8 million? Do you remember when they were lying to you about how much money we would save by leaving the European Union and suggesting we could spend all of that non-existent cash on the NHS instead? That was £350 million a week. 8s into 350, please, Keith. How many 8s are there in 350? Come on, quickly. 4,300, carry 2. It's 40-something, isn't it? It's 40-odd. 40-odd lots of £8 million to go into 300. But that was a week. This is £8 million a year. In what other context is £8 million a year going to be newsworthy? Even if you spent £8 million a year on sweets, it wouldn't make the news. £8 million a year. What is it? What have we got? £8 million a year. What are the big expenditures? We're increasing the defence budget by £8 million a year. What's that going to buy you? 8 pairs of boots and a couple of helmets. £8 million a year. It's nothing. It's not a figure, right? It's a negligible sum of money. Don't at me. I appreciate you'd quite like to have it in your current account, as would I. But in the context of national expenditure or budgets or the Treasury, there's a £50 billion hole in our economy at the moment, according to some analyses. The 4% drop in GDP, which is roughly double the damage done to our economy by coronavirus, is a direct consequence of Brexit. These sums are gargantuan. They are apocalyptic. But today's news, everywhere from the front of the Times to the top of the BBC, today's news is led by an £8 million story. When's the last time an £8 million story? If you won £8 million on the lottery, you wouldn't get into the news, would you? You need to win Euro Millions these days to get photographed on the 10 with a big bottle of bubbly and an angry ex. Yeah, £8 million lottery win, you wouldn't even make. Would you make the local paper? You'd make the local paper, wouldn't you? If you tick the publicity box, you wouldn't make the national news if you won £8 million on the lottery. I don't think you'd make the local telly. You'd only make the local paper. I know what you're thinking. What on earth? What's happened? Who spent £8 million? What's he on about? What's going on? You could be forgiven for thinking this morning that Suella Braverman had just signed away the family silver to the French in return for a promise that may or may not be worth the paper that it's written on, to do even more to help Britain do even less than France when it comes to housing asylum seekers and refugees. We're paying already. Let me get this absolutely right. We're paying already £55 million a year to France to help them help us do less than they do when it comes to offering asylum to refugees and asylum seekers. I'll say that again because there's a lot of confusion around this story in the country and elsewhere. We're already paying France £55 million a year, ostensibly to help them help us do less than they do in the arena of sheltering refugees and looking after asylum seekers. We already do considerably less than they do, both, I think, in real numbers and in terms of per capita numbers as well. I think we come about 19th in Europe. Of course, when Farage gets to Dover with his Fisher-Price binoculars and his shiny trousers and starts pretending that we are somehow shouldering more than our burden, it lands very well. It lands everywhere from the Foreign Office and the Home Office right down to the comments section of the Daily Bugle. But we currently pay France £55 million so that they will help us do less than France does. How do you think that plays in French politics? I'm speculating now, and if I'm wrong, 03456060973 is the number that you need. How do you think this plays in French politics? I won't do the accent because it's 2022 and I have moved on. Sadly, actually, because I'm not unfond of slightly allo style comedy, but I won't do the accent. I might allow myself one at some point in the next 7 minutes, all right? But just one. There will be no more than one in the context of this conversation. But what do you think happens in French politics on a day like today? What's happening? Okay, we've got the English Home Secretary coming. Oh, well, the one that got fired for absolutely appalling behaviour and then got a job back 6 days later. Oui, bien sûr, that's the one. We've got her coming over. Why is she coming here? She wants to sign a treaty. We've already signed a treaty. Yeah, she wants to sign another treaty. Well, we can't sign another treaty. All right. She wants to sign the same treaty that we've already signed, but she wants to give us some more money. Well, they give us £55 million a year. How much more do they want to give us? £8 million a year. Boss. So let me get this straight. The Home Secretary of the United Kingdom is going to France to sign a treaty she's already signed in some hope of formalising the idea that she's increasing the amount of money she gives us to help her do less than we do to house refugees from £55 million a year to £63 million a year. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. Why is she doing this? Well, A, her own job is very fragile because she keeps getting fired and rehired for gross misconduct. B, what's she actually in trouble for at the moment? I can't remember. Is she a bully, or is that the other one? Dominic Raab got into trouble for bullying, didn't he? That was reported. There's a surprise. He's always seemed like such a nice stand-up guy. What was she? She got fired for the sending letters that she wasn't supposed to, for sending like documents to the wife of an MP. Absolutely appalling breach of security. And then she should have got fired again, but didn't, because Rishi Sunak had only just hired her, and he couldn't look weak by firing her. It's so hard. It's Monday. You can tell I've had a good weekend. I can't remember what was she in trouble for most recently? Was it bullying or was it something else? It will come to me in a minute. So she's got all sorts of problems going on at home. She's gone to France with a film crew and cameras and journalists in attendance. And you sit here thinking, well, this must be quite a big story. And it's not. It's £8 million a year more on top of £55 million, which, as I have confidently stated already, that ain't going to make the local paper, or it certainly isn't going to make the national news if you were to win it on the lottery. Here are some of the things that will happen. The number of officers patrolling the French coast to try to help the UK do even less than it does already, which is considerably less than France, will rise from 200 to 300. Under the updated agreement, UK police officers will be embedded with their French counterparts in control rooms and on beaches. That's good. But what are they going to do when they're embedded with their French counterparts in control rooms and on beaches? I don't know, mon ami, but it's £8 million a year for us, more than we're already getting. So we're paying £55 million a year, and people who get upset about this stuff, people who think that the best thing a country can do when it's facing massive labour shortages in almost every sector is devote epic amounts of political energy to keeping people out of the country. People who have fallen for this kind of guff, they are going to be looking at this story and presumably thinking that this is what's it going to do? What is it going to do? What is the question I'm going to ask you today? So many mysteries. I think I'm going to ask you why you think Suella Braverman has done this. 0345 6060 973. What's happened to Rwanda? Where's that gone? That was supposed to be frightening everybody. The numbers, if you track it back from 2016, when we left the European Union, the numbers have gone through the roof. So if this stuff upsets you, the only people you're supposed to be getting cross with now are the people who told you that by voting to become the only country in history to impose economic sanctions on itself, we'd somehow be able to do even less than we do already to help the most desperate people in the world to flee from tragedy and horror. At which point your racist Uncle Bob says, yeah, they're all Albanian though, aren't they? They're all Albanian. Well, no, they're not all Albanian. There have in recent months been an uptick in the number of Albanians being trafficked into this country by criminal gangs, which makes them victims of crime or illegal criminals, in the language of the Daily Mail. I'm not suggesting you should get out your violin or lie awake at night worrying about these people, but they do risk life and limb in crossing the channel, and they have been almost as manna from heaven for racist politicians and commentators to pretend that none of these people are fleeing Afghanistan or Syria. They're all desperate to come here from Albania in order to live in a travel lodge. Or a luxury hotel, as your Uncle Bob's Facebook page will tell you, that would probably not even be open were it not for the fact that the Home Office is now sticking people in them because they've got such poor infrastructure to cope with the problem they created when they encouraged the country to vote to become the first in history to impose economic sanctions on itself.